Hello, Katrina. Wow, this is an ambitious drawing for assignment 3. I like the way you've handled the roof for the most part. It might be that you have exaggerated the eaves or the place where the roof hangs off the edge of the house. Say, we can look to the right side. Um, I was thinking that showing some sort of horizon line on the right could help, and even having a different value for ground versus sky. Um, I like the way that you've drawn the garage door. It might be that there should be more space to the left of it on that wall and less to the right, given, the way we're looking at things. One area where there's definitely room for improvement is with the windows at the upper left. There are a couple of square windows with perspective that should be more in line with the walls that are described there, the ones that they sit on. Hi, Bob. Looking at your assignment 2 next to your assignment 3, I can see a drastic difference in the way the scanning's been handled. Assignment 3 looks far better. I think you've got this. All right, now, looking at assignment 2, well, this is a chest of drawers, but I asked myself, why are the drawers so different in size? Now, it might be that there are 3 skinny ones and 2 fat ones, the fat ones being toward the bottom. But I think this is something that you could have taken a little more time with. And I know the assignments don't say how long to spend on the drawing, but I would say if you spend any less than, say, an hour, you're shortchanging yourself on these big drawings toward the end of the week. And I would hope that you would spend something more like 2 to 3 hours or even more. Now, looking at the second drawing, well, this has a quality of having been mapped out using linear perspective, the sort of thing that you learn in perspective class. However, I really feel that this assignment is about going outside and looking at a building and drawing it according to how it looks, for instance, by using sighting. What I would say here is that the vanishing points are too close together, and that's making a very exaggerated looking kind of perspective. I think what you've got going with the chest of drawers, say we look down toward the bottom, and how it's made to look dimensional there is pretty good. Well, hi Amanda, I was commenting to Jennifer W. about her um, fireplace drawing, and how, some fireplaces actually protrude from the wall and they have a quality of being like a piece of furniture. But this one doesn't have that quality. I know it wasn't explained in detail and the fireplace was probably there at the ready so you drew it. But my first reaction to seeing this fireplace was a little bit of a letdown because I'd hoped to see a form, a dimensional form. And also it looks like it was drawn kind of quickly. But when I saw it next to assignment 3, I thought, wow. I thought, there's something similar between these two subjects that makes them a nice pair. Your drawing for assignment 3 is just amazing. It is really beautiful. Now, one little pointer, if this was my drawing, I would take great care not to let the form of the building flow off the edge of the page, especially at the point that's very near the edge of the form itself. Hi Mason, this is a beautiful drawing, this assignment too, showing the fireplace, and then there's just a little bit of a piece of furniture that peeks through a glass door. Um, I think you've done a fine job, and I like the quality of texture. The stoop of the fireplace looks to be shiny. Um, let's see. If there was any little thing I'd tell you to look at, it would be the edge where the wall meets the floor there beneath the light switch. I think that could be a little more toward the horizontal. Now, onto your assignment 3, and here you are using charcoal and probably on a small scale, which is not something I recommend. Although, remember earlier on I was pointing to a video where the artist was sharpening his charcoal, his vine charcoal, on a piece of sandpaper. Well, one thing I'll say about this edifice is I really wish I could see all of it or more of it. I can't quite figure out what's going on with it or the fence that seems to attach to it. One little thing I'd suggest is I think I must be seeing 2 walls coming together there toward the left. Would they have different values, these walls? Hi Kim here. I'm going to focus on your assignment 2 as I've already spent a long time thinking about assignment 3, I think that you look in the draft review, you'll see info on it there. So let's see these drawings. What industry? There is so much detail in them. You have just really set yourself to work, and it comes in along with the idea of texture. This was a lot of work, really, with both of the drawings. Now, let's see. I would say it's not a bad idea to use a straight edge. I think this building will look a little more built of brick if the lines, say, between the rows of windows didn't sway a tad. I'm also a little curious about the bottom edge of the front of the building on the right here. I think that line could be more straight, and I think it might slope upward toward the right. Now, you said that you weren't particularly good at trees, but I think you've done okay. Might be that the trunk could be darker, and you can show how it's rooted in ground. One thing about trees is it's good to do what you did here, find an overall pattern of light and dark, but then after you do that, find a few areas and show some detail. You don't have to detail the entire tree, and that could actually go for the building too. You don't have to draw every last brick in the building. If you give us a suggestion of brick and draw the brick clearly in some areas, that will usually carry the drawing. Well, Lisa, your drawings show some indication of you understanding the perspective in the situations. But let's take a look at assignment 2, for example. It looks to me like we see the door from the closet opening toward the right in the direction of the chest of drawers. The perspective on that door is not quite right. It should not look square. It's going to look more like a trapezoid. And what I want you to prove to yourself is that you can use your pencil to judge angles. I want you to take a look at the Curtis book, because there's a section there about comparing angles to the face of a clock and an hour hand there. And I also linked everybody to a website where use of the same method is described. When I take a look at your chest of drawers and compare it to the shelf next to it, perhaps it's under a picture on the wall, the two don't seem to exist well in the same space. And another thing I want you to think about is the footprint of your furniture. I want you to imagine how much the bottom of the furniture, how much space the bottom of the furniture takes up, and be sure that you're leaving space enough between the back of the furniture and the wall so they can coexist believably. I think with your second drawing, things are a little bit skewed as well. And what you need to do is figure out sighting. I would like to see you spend more time on your drawings for future, and I really actually would like to see a little more work on these particular drawings. You can show them to me later on. Hi Nina, this drawing of the couch is reminding me of a certain Kansas City artist and his work. The work with the pillows here is absolutely amazing. One little thing I'd like to suggest is it would be best to leave some space beneath the bottom of the object and the bottom of the picture for future. Also, I'm wondering if the walls should be perfectly white. Is there no shadow that the frame of the picture or the couch itself throws onto the wall? Now, with regard to your slide, there are some things that look really nice here. I like the cinder blocks a great deal. I am thinking that in the foreground of the slide, there where its slope meets the grass, that there could be more value in the hollow area. And I think that the far left corner there in that area needs to come up a little bit in order for the slide to appear as though it's in perspective. I'm not a big fan of the way that you've drawn the grass here, and I'm wondering if there's a rubbing method that would better approximate the look of grass. And if you pay attention to what I was saying to Kim, it can do to create value and texture in some areas, and that will carry the drawing. You don't have to add every blade of grass.